Cuba a family allowance system because it will be very expensive. Therefore, there are policies that seem to be rational. I don't see them coming through. And also this policy, in terms of reversing the low fertility, they are extremely difficult to, that they are successful.
Thank you. So we have time for one more round, maybe, question? Yes?
Well, I am a Cuban American. My name is Alfredo Castaneda, and I would like to know if it is possible for a Cuban American residing in Miami to buy or to inherit property in Cuba, particularly a house that belongs to a relative. Something happened, God forbid, to that relative. If I think, a person living here can inherit or can buy houses. I don't know, according to the current regulation in Cuba, the changes that are going on.
Okay, thank you. Another question? Somebody got their hand up?
Is there a policy, as far as you know, in Cuba, for the return of Cubans living outside of Cuba, for reunions with family and things of that sort?
Okay. Final question? No?
No, just one comment.
Let me go to the back, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll take yours.
My question is, how is, all of us here in Miami are worried about the current influence of Cubans coming in, the mass migration. So is Miami ready for mass migration, and is it ready for the changes, the demographic changes that you have been talking about? Or do you know how that is going to affect us in the next 20 or 30 years?
Okay, thank you. And we'll go back to you.
Returning to the immigration to Cuba, I think the question is, we have to make a study and ask the young people what should happen in Cuba so they can return there. What conditions we should prepare in Cuba so they can want to return to work, to procreate them. This is a study that we have to make.
Okay, so we'll go back to the, shall we start? Dennis, you want to?
Well, I guess in terms of the Miami taking in sort of very large numbers of Cubans, I don't think the number will likely increase from what has been happening since the 90s, and it's been managed by the, some people come in, and the city has dealt with it, the county. One thing I mentioned in my comments is as this population ages, we do have, and it's something I'm involved with, that we are so different in South Florida from the rest of the state in terms of being able to provide aging services, because we have such a different population, but the way monies are allocated is very, it doesn't take that into consideration. It doesn't take into consideration the poverty, because Cuban American older adults in Miami have the highest rates of poverty of any older adult in Florida. So that isn't taken into consideration. So the needs are great, and one thing that is needed is advocacy at the Tallahassee level for services here, for more resources here, because we're not getting them. That's one thing I know from my involvement in aging services. So I can comment on that. I'll let the other.
Well, I think I have a comment, because you have an indicator, which the Miami metropolitan area is perhaps the lowest average income area in the United States. The average income, family income is the lowest by far. Lower than, you name it, El Paso probably, which is very low as well. Just the continuous influx not only of Cubans, but of all the people who don't speak English, who have difficulties.
Alejandro Portes just published
Right.
an article in Cuban Studies in which he shows that impoverishment. I just want to answer the question. You were asking whether a Cuban American can buy a house in Cuba. Legally, you cannot do it. In order to buy a house, you have to be either a Cuban citizen or you could be an alien permanent resident. Now, that's the law. But what is happening is that a lot of people are buying houses by using relatives. What is called a testaferro. I think it will be like a third party. But this is illegal. I saw, I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago that there was a campaign to stop that. There were people accused that they were using third parties. So it's been done legally, but you cannot do it legally.
Carmelo, as I understand it, if you become a resident in Cuba, then you can purchase.
An alien, a foreigner, permanent resident can buy a house in Cuba.
You have to become a permanent resident in Cuba.
In Cuba.
Yes, so with your Cuban passport, you can solicit a application for repatriation, and if you are repatriated, then you receive a residency card, and then you are able to purchase property
Yes.
under your
If
name.
you are a permanent resident, yes.
Yes, if you're a permanent resident, and if you're a Cuban national. You must be a Cuban
Or it could
national.
be Cuban or Spanish or whatever. I mean, if you become a permanent resident in Cuba, you are entitled to buy and sell a house.
Muy breve. Las proyecciones de población a las cuales se ha referido el colega son de la Oficina Nacional de Estadística e Información de Cuba, no del Centro de Estudios Demográficos de la Universidad de Navarra. Son las proyecciones oficiales.
Estas son las oficiales.
Estas son las oficiales de Cuba. Nosotros somos una institución académica donde estudiamos, hacemos proyecciones, pero estas en particular son de la Oficina Nacional de Estadística.
Que no necesariamente concuerdan con los demás.
Okay, thank you all for a wonderful discussion. Thank you all for staying.